Before this episode, I really liked Koharu, but after this one, I love this girl.
Pokemon Ranger, I choose you!
What's up, my dear boys and girls, it's your Ranger Boy here, and welcome to another late review of Pokemon the Anime 2019. As a guy who really loves character-focused episodes, naturally I had somewhat of a high expectation for this one, especially since we haven't seen anything from the Gen 8 Pokegirl Koharu yet. And this very first Koharu-based episode was, in my opinion, amazing. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, Long, you got me curious now. Tell us why, and I will tell you after my impressions of last week's episode. Sorry guys, but I really owe you guys this one. Overall, last week's episode was decent. The elephant in the room of this episode was of course Ash catching Dragonite, which without a question was the highlight of this episode. If you want to know more about my opinion in regards of Ash's first Gen 8 anime capture, then go watch this video right here. The next thing I really liked was how both Ash and Go went deeper into the lore of Dragonite's evolution line, and how especially each and every line has its own uniqueness. That Dratini often sheds its skin before evolving, and that shed skin is actually very valuable. That Dragonair causes a change in weather while exerting their power, and I also found the question of why Dragonair obtains hands after evolving and why it actually needs hands very interesting. But here also lies one of the nitpicks I had with this episode. They didn't really explain why Dragonair needs two hands after evolving, besides Ash's explanation that they get hands to protect others, which in my opinion is the most safe but yet the most basic explanation ever. I honestly was hoping for a bit more detail, maybe through Go or Professor Sakuragi. The second nitpick I had was the climax of the episode, which was Dragonair evolving into Dragonite to save Ash after he got in danger thanks to Team Rocket. On the one hand, a Pokemon evolving to rescue a main protagonist is a plot device we have seen over and over and over again, and therefore it doesn't really stand out. But on the other hand, I can't really blame the anime for that, since it's been 20 plus years, so a recycled plot will happen eventually. Last but not least, many people have been comparing Ash catching Dragonite to Iris catching Dragonite, and I can't really blame them for that, because I can actually see the similarities. Both captures really came out of nowhere with no build-up. But in all honesty, I really prefer Iris' story more, because her Dragonite story was all about him being portrayed as this dangerous rampaging monster who got accused by people, and the only person who believed in Dragonite was Iris. Or in short, it was sort of a Iris and Dragonite against the world situation. Also, Iris getting that Pokemon back then made way more sense compared to Ash nowadays, because she was aiming to be a Dragon Master. And also, in that first encounter with the Dragon type, Iris was also able to show off her abilities as a Dragon Master to help him out. Ash's situation is a bit different. Sure, Ash was also able to show off his skills to help out Dragonair with his typical unconventional training method. But his story with that Pokemon was more of a good guys defeat bad guys story, rather than a story of misunderstanding and prejudice. So in short, the basis of Ash and Iris catching Dragonite is similar, but the way how they did that couldn't be any more different. Really sorry that it took me that long, but I really needed to get that off my chest, especially the whole Ash vs Iris debate. But we finally arrived from one Pokegirl to another, from Iris to Koharu. But the past Pokegirl reference won't stop here, because in my opinion, Koharu's story took some major inspirations by another Pokegirl who most of you guys know and really love. So if you want to know more, then grab some popcorn, grab some cookies, and let's do this. Finally, it's time for the actual Pokegirl. Sorry Go, but I still love you, to have a spotlight to shine. But as far as Koharu goes, she wouldn't even enter the limelight or even get out of her bed without some proper styling. No need to panic, girl. I kinda like that messy style of yours. You look good. Anyway, after getting a proper makeover, which totally is not inspired by her mom, wink wink, the family is about to start breakfast. But adorable Yamper is waiting for Koharu and only Koharu to serve him some food, which she does, while the whole family makes the remark that a cute guy like the Yamper prefers the coldest person of the family the most. And this theme of Koharu being cold, distant and hesitant not only seems to be one of her main traits, but also the major theme of this episode. But before we return to the Pokegirl, let's make a quick cut to the boys, with them witnessing Ash's new Pokemon Dragonite just to be the most adorable thing in the world, hugging everyone. Aww. Suddenly, Go's recently obtained Wurmple are starting to evolve, and naturally, he hopes for them to evolve into both Silcoon and Cascoon, so that he will later have Beautifly and Dustox. But the end result really crushed him. But hey, at least they're cute. Don't be like that, Go. Look at Jessie back then in the Advanced Generation series. After her Pokemon evolved into Dustox, even though she wanted a Beautifly, she was even more in love with that Pokemon. Wow, that was an odd reference. Well, how about another one? This episode also somewhat references all the spooky episodes that we had throughout the years, with Gengar terrorizing the institution, starting with lab assistant Renji and his Magnemite called Francois. Is he from Carlos? Or why does he call his Pokemon in such a fancy manner? Francois. Back to the topic of today, Koharu, who has to go to school, and neither her cute Yamper nor the enthusiastic boys reporting about the witnessed evolution can hinder her from further distancing herself from the others. And once again, with the remark that Koharu is a rather cold person when it comes to interaction. Speaking of cold, the atmosphere within the institution suddenly gets a bit chilly, and soon it turns out to be thanks to Gangar, wreaking havoc within the building. But one strong thunderbolt from our beloved mascot Pokemon is enough to stop the rampaging ghost, at least for now. So since that part of the episode calmed down, we can easily make a shift to Koharu, with in my opinion, one of the most interesting segments in this episode. During her class, every student was supposed to tell their teacher about their plans in the future, and what kind of job they want to do. But as soon as it was Koharu's turn, everyone in the classroom was all like, she's gonna follow her dad's footsteps. Of course, she will be a Pokemon professor. Of course, she is a good battler. And of course, she has tons of Pokemon and she loves Pokemon. Even though our Pokegirl isn't even sure what she's aiming for in life, or if she even likes Pokemon. And after her mom came along to bring her lunch, she openly states how much she disliked being put in a shelf without even thinking about what she wants. The people automatically assume that because your parent is this job, that you as the daughter also automatically have to do the same job, which really reminded me a lot of Serena and her situation back then with her mom, but I will go into detail about both situations later on. We also find out that her mom is an illustrator, but in the past she wanted to become a manga artist, but at one point she realized that she should just give up on being a manga artist until she met her future husband Sakuragi, who really enjoyed her having fun while drawing, and that she shouldn't give up on that. Although she technically gave up on being a manga artist and instead became an illustrator, she still feels the same fun and love she had back then with her old aspiration. And that's essentially what she wants to teach her daughter, that plans can change and that you can't really fixate yourself on just one goal from the very beginning. Did I mention that Koharu's story really reminded me of Serena? Meanwhile, Ash and Go are still chasing down Gengar and even start a sort of friendly competition of who will get Gengar first. But Gengar seems to be too powerful for Go's one-catch technique to even land. Oh my god, Go not catching a Pokemon? Am I dreaming? But even Ash has a lot of trouble with that ghost type. But throughout the ruckus caused by Gengar vs Ash, the ghost type once again disappears and pops up in front of Koharu with only her Yamper trying to protect her. And not only that, but just like the beginning of the episode, Yamper is so attached to Koharu that it wouldn't do any kind of attack unless Koharu and Koharu alone says so. Even though Koharu never has battled in her life, seeing how much her partner loves her, she decides to try it, landing a successful spark attack on Gengar, and this time blasting him off for good. Again, just for now. Because after an adorable Koharu/Yamper scene and both Ash and Go declaring ownership to that Gengar, the episode ends with said Gengar staring menacingly into the night. So that's the episode, and without any more hesitation, let's go right into my impressions. First things first, this episode was not only, in my humble opinion, absolutely amazing, but it also is important in so many ways. Let me point out why this episode was so important. First, we finally have a Koharu-focused story. With the amount of screen time that both Ash and especially Go are getting in this anime, that really got me worried about what the future will hold for Koharu, since she technically is the third companion according to things like the opening. And not only that we know more about her now, but now we also know why she wasn't that involved with the adventures of Ash and Go. At first I thought that she was just not interested in their journey, but the fact is that as of right now, she is very indecisive. She doesn't even know if she likes Pokemon, and the only Pokemon she trusts is Yamper, and even towards that Pokemon she sometimes behaves very cold and very distant. So why should she join an adventure full of exploring Pokemon and loving Pokemon, when she herself doesn't even know if she likes Pokemon? But that cool and calculating nature, in my opinion, kinda confirmed to me what I mentioned in my last discussion video, that Koharu, in case she would join the group, would be the more down-to-earth person. A person who rather watches from the distance rather than putting her energy straight into the adventure, like Ash and Go would do. And the most interesting thing about that aspect is that she wasn't always the cold personality that she is right now, but her character and relationship changed during her childhood, which in my opinion would open up an opportunity for a flashback episode in the future, to find out what exactly caused her to change this way. We have to talk about Koharu's goal and the striking similarities she has in that regard with Serena. Both of them are very indecisive at the beginning of their story. Both also haven't decided yet of what she wants to do in the future, and both have been put into a certain shelf by people who expect them to do one career and one career alone, and solely because their parents have that career. But the major twist in all this, and therefore the major difference between Serena and Koharu, is by who they have been judged by. In case of Serena, it was her own mother expecting her to follow her career as a Pokemon racer racer, while her environment, aka the XY gang and other characters involved in Serena's story, supported her to go for what she really wants. But in this case, Koharu's story is the direct opposite. In her case, it's the environment. It's the outside people who expect her to be like her parents, while the actual parents support her and even suggest her to take her time, that plans can change, and that she should decide herself. Remember back then with Serena and her mom? Her mom was constantly reminding her about her poker race training, that she shouldn't slack off, and that Grace expected from her own daughter to be a great racer one day. The beginnings of Koharu and Serena are very similar, if not identical to each other, but the conditions are totally different. But even with that, the potential I see with Koharu thanks to this episode is the same potential I saw with Serena back then. Sure, in Sun and Moon we had Lily, and overall her story was really solid, but everything she did was kinda predictable. From the very start, we knew that she would overcome her fear of touching Shiron, and later on touching Pokemon. We knew that she will overcome her fear for heights, which is still a strange episode to me, especially since just a few episodes before she flew on a freaking Solgaleo many meters above the sky, which doesn't really seem to be that high, but it sure is higher than flying off a goddamn small ramp of snow, and as a result of that, being scared of heights. My god, Sun and Moon was weird sometimes. Anyway, back to topic. We also knew that Lily will master the Z move, we knew that she will reawaken Magiana, and she will probably also find her dad. Again, Lily was a really solid character, but not much of a surprise, and that surprise and unpredictable element is something that Koharu's story can provide. We don't even know if she will ever like Pokemon or not. We don't even know what she aspires in the future. And if everything turns out well, then in my humble opinion, Koharu's story can not only be as good as Serena's story, but maybe even better. And honestly, I really hope so. The last thing I want to talk about is what this episode provided besides establishing Koharu as an actual character. At first I thought that the other side of the story would be just your stereotypical haunted house episode. And to be honest, it actually began like that, with Gengar causing chaos. But during this episode, both Ash and Go were aiming to catch that Gengar. And even after Gengar got blasted off by Koharu, they both are looking forward to catch that Pokemon one day. So they use Gengar as a current and future plot device to start off a legitimate rivalry between Ash and Go. And I love that. I would love to see both Ash and Go competing against each other in such a way, and maybe that way Go can also improve his overall skills while competing with Ash. So to sum it up short, I loved every part of this episode, so this time I can't really say anything negative about it. Sorry. Anyway guys, I really hope you enjoyed this long overdue review. What is your opinion on this episode, and especially in regards to Koharu? Tell me, and just like always, see you guys in the comments down below. Bye guys!